Äh, das nervt halt ein bisschen. Ich muss nicht gerade mein Pass wieder eingeben und so bei Restream Chat. Der ist cl@x.de. Select all special fire hydrants with bicycles. Traffic lights. Verdammte Scheiße. Mountains or hills? Was? Invalid E-Mail oder Passwort, okay. Das ist gerade nervig. Nochmal alle Busse. Alle Bicycles. So, jetzt klappt es. Habt ihr letztes paar Wochen nicht so viel gestreamt, weil naja, ich bin ehrlich, ich war viel zu depressiv dafür. Ich zu schnell. Gut. Mal schauen, wie ich das gestreamt habe. Weil das würde mich jetzt wirklich auch interessieren. Vor 2 Wochen. Am 21.04. Also mehr als 2 Wochen sogar. Aber hey. Genug der langen Umschweife. Machen wir weiter und fangen endlich mit Chapter 8 an. Are you for real? 1? Are you for real? Nicht 1, sondern Ausrufezeichen. Chapter 8. Misaki High. School's winter vacation began in mid-December. The tranquil of air of the school was refreshing, change of pace from the more competitive schools to the national foremost sports teams and exam-rotated curriculum. The empty, newly constructed building evoked images of a pure white dawn descended upon a still winter lake. The modern school building felt alive in the stillness, in spite of the absence of its lifeblood of students. Most students never knew what this building used to look like. It was a small rundown wooden building, a shadow of its former self. The former school was never torn down and now stood in lonely silence. It was tucked away deep in seemingly infinite wood that stretched across the mountains. The sound of brooms sweeping the dead leaves resonated in the air. The ocean of leaves had accumulated into piles as big as sand dunes. Sleeping was a futile venture at this point. An ominous feeling lingered in the air, perhaps the result of 2 years of abandonment. Cleaning inside the building alone would take more than a few days to finish. Not to mention...
ほんとだり存在価値が見出せねえばっかじゃねえの冬休みは短いってのになんでこんなことやらせんだよ生徒会は
The misguided youth sent here for the job wasted no time making it clear he wanted no part in this beautification efforts.
っていうかジャージでやらせんなよジャンパーぐらい着させろよな何これもしかして体育の補習寒中マラソン俺体育だけはサボったことねえんすけどね
Hosuke Kinomi continued to mumble and grumble to himself as he reluctantly swept away the ground. Meanwhile, Soichiro silently and swiftly continued, his sweeping glaring at Kinomi out of the corner of his eye.
おい何真面目にやってんだよこんなの適当でいいんだってだいたい40人しかいねえのにこんな山みたいな庭の掃除なんか終わるかってんだ
終わらないことなんてない少しうるさいぞ木の実は
Kinomi went back to idly swing his broom without even glancing over at Soichiro. Mornings on the mountain were cold. There was no hint of sun in the cloudy sky above. Ash-grey light illuminated the rear courtyard. The sharp cold of midwinter pierced through everyone's gloves as if they did not exist. A day like this was the best spent indoors under warm blankets. But for some reason, they were out there cleaning. The special winter cleaning team. That was the name given to the elite force sent to clean up this dilapidated, overgrown mountain. Schönes Bild. The other students had put their faith into this team to fulfill this beautification mission, respected them for their sacrifice. The reality, however, was this was nothing more than a ragtag, their losing gang of students needing remedial lessons before their exams. They were the victims of a year-long arm-twisting scheme by the student council. Who in the right mind would come out here to sweep up leaves with a blizzard looming on the horizon? Other than one of the 40 assembled, none of them had any semblance of interest in the task at hand.
おい見ろよしずき赤羽たち向こうで焼き芋とかレトロな真似してやがるな2番煎じはいかにも頭悪いしなそうだ俺たちはイカでも焼かねえ
Kinomi did not want to be here to begin with. and was constantly trying to break Soichiro into joining him. The cleaning squad was divided into groups. Soichiro and Kinomi were in charge of cleaning behind the gymnasium. Soichiro was the leader of the platoon. Kinomi was the grunt.
ああ、こことあっちの垣根をきれいにしたら、焼き芋だろうと焼きイカだろうと猫鍋だろうと好きにしよう。その頃にはちょうどお昼だ。
Soichiro said as they expertly packed his swept leaves into trash bags. 2 hours had passed since they assembled on this foggy morning at 7 o'clock. Servus, Timothy! Where everyone was chatted and laughed as they worked. Soichiro alone had been worked in complete silence at the same blistering pace since he started. The sheer amount of work he put in was likely the only thing keeping him from complaining of the cold in his thin jersey.
なあ、やめようぜ。見ろ、そこの池、スケートリンク。やっぱ池？とにかくそこの池らしきものだってカチカチに凍ってるぐらいなんだぜ。こんな雪原じゃ人体は普通動かねえよ。機械伯爵でもなきゃだよ。そろそろ人間狩りが始まるよ。
Jammer nicht so viel, Kinomi!
なんでいい加減休憩しね。せっかく枯葉集めたんだから燃やして温まんないとさ。どうせ監視役は殿下しかいないんだしさ。なあ、焼きイカやろうぜ。焼きイカ。
For some reason, Kinomi was doing on about his squid. Soichiro had managed to withstand the barrage of complaints from his comrade, but even he was reaching his limit.
木の実、頼むから。
Just then, Soichiro saw the Grim Reaper himself creeping by Kinomi. Naja, Grim Reaper will ich ihn nicht nennen. Grim Reaper hat nicht rote Haare für meiner Ansicht nach. In his hand, he had a rake instead of a soft bamboo broom.
いいぜ。お前がイカなんてもんを用意してるほどの大人物だってんなら、慎んでイカ焼きぐらい許可してやるよ。なんなら醤油はこっちで用意してやろう。
Kinomi shot to attention the voice behind him.
その物言い、築地なにがし。
Before quickly turning around, swinging his broom in the process. Toimaru easily blocked the swing with his rake.
ああ、てめえ、やる気十分じゃねえか。溢れる労働意欲を抑えきれないってわけか。なんならシベリアコースにでも行っちまうか。
Ab nach Sibirien mit dir.
女ども集めて焼却炉に陣取ってる野郎の言葉なんざ聞かねえよ。真冬に南国気分とかマジ寒いわ。
Both boys glared at each other with a worried smile. Broom and rake locked in an embrace. These two were only friendly with each other on school grounds.
飛び丸、一応彼は戦力なんだから邪魔しないでくれ。
Both then scoffed angrily and put away their weapons. They both knew better than to argue with Soichiro, the only one cleaning with the garbage bag in hand.
それで何しに来たんだ飛び丸。君はあったかい焼却炉の前で永遠に火の管理をすると豪語していたんじゃなかったっけ。
A harsh comment for Soichiro. Apparently, even Soichiro had a side taste for drama.
なんてこった。善良な生徒ですら俺をそんな目で見るのか。
Toimaru seemed set in Soichiro's opposition, but as long as Toimaru continued to claim he was helping the girls clean by doing nothing more than standing in front of a pile of burning leaves, Soichiro found it hard to sympathize.
いいから要件を言えよ。殿下と違って俺らは暇じゃねえんだ。
Nein, du deutest nur rum.
ああ、そうかよ。宗次郎、そろそろ小休止だ。向こうで温まろうよ。
お、なんだブレイクかよ。話せるじゃん殿下。
ああ、てめえは除外に決まってんだろ。 特権は功労者にのみ与えられるもんだ。焼却炉の前に来たけりゃそれ相応の貢ぎ物を持ってきやがれ。具体的に言うとリアカー1台分のゴミ袋な。
That's fair.
ひっで生徒会応募
Kinomi's complaint actually fell on deaf ears. Toimaru had been selected to lead the cleaning operation, and the word was final. If Kinomi were to continue to push his buttons, he knew he would be on cleaning duty tomorrow and the next day too.
さあ行くぞ。誰の趣味か知らねえがなぜか汁粉の缶が山ほどあってな。中華まんの一つでもあった方が気が利くってもんなんだがね。あれか遭難用のチョコレートみたいなもんか。たくあいつの考えは未だにわかんねえな。
So Shiro reassured Toimaru by saying that he thought the food would do just fine for everyone.
なんだよ行かねえのか宗次郎。
ああ、自分はここに残るよ。旦なら木の実の言うように顔を燃やせばいい。そこに池もある。火の始末なら安心だ。
This was clearly for Kinomi's benefit. Toimaru followed his bro while Kinomi shivered from the cold.
俺は今友情ってもんを実感している。すげえな、真心って本当にあったんだ。くそ、待ってろしずき、今赤羽たちから芋を奪ってくる。
Perhaps shy to show his true feelings, Kinomi ran off to the neighboring group.
な予想はしてたけどな。ほらよ。
Toimaru pulled out a hot can from his jersey pocket, scratching his head in exacerbation. He pulled out 3 in all, 1 from each jersey pocket and 1 from his pants pocket.
さっさと焚き火の用意をしようぜ。俺もこっちで休むことにするわ。
付き合いがいいのはお互い様だな。
So Shiro quickly prepared the leaves for the fire, carefully gathering them up for them to burn neatly.
慣れてるな。
マッチがあるから楽なんだ。
So Shiro crouched down in front of the burning leaves and warmed his hand near the flames. Even though he showed no signs of being cold, underneath it all, Soichiro was cold too. He gazed into the fire as the smokes rose from the piles of leaves, as if remembering the good times from his past. Toimaru felt a touch of concern as he looked at Soichiro. He saw with him homesickness and retrospection. He also saw a dark shadow looming over him, like a stranger in a foreign land without a home.
元気ねえな宗次郎。
まあね、少し疲れてる。
悩み事なら相談に乗るぜ。気が向いたら話してくれ。
Toimaru continued speaking with the pull tab from the can of sweet red bean soup still around his index finger. Soichiro was focused on the fire.
そういえばな、お前が学校休んでる時青崎に殴られたぜ。なんでも俺は大ボラ吹きだそうだ。
すごいな、大抜擢じゃないか。
Soichiro would play incoherently like this. Toimaru chalked it up to cushion differences.
なあ、青崎とはどうなってんだ？テスト前は駅まで一緒に帰ってただろ？うまくいってんのか、あれから。
It was obvious to everyone that was far from the case yet. Toimaru asked anyway.
ああ、今は一緒に住んでるよ。
Soichiro went with the truthful blunt response. Ob das eine gute Idee war? Ich bezweifle es.
ああ、そうか、一緒と来たか。
Dating already? Toimaru tried to laugh off Soichiro's all-too-casual confession. However,
一緒に住んでるぞ。
どうした飛び丸、火でも飛んだか？
飛んでねえし、それより怖え。おい、 今の聞き捨てならねえたわごとは本当の話か？
Soichiro protested Tobimaru's reply with silence.
その余裕マジか。女に興味なさそうな顔しててやることやってんじゃねえかてめえ。
Tobimaru always felt that he and Soichiro were an equal match, strength-wise, but for some reason he could not shake the feeling that Soichiro was now his superior in the brain department. Soichiro cast a rare angry glare in Tobimaru's direction.
こっちこそ聞き捨てならない。なんだその女に興味はないってのは。
Soichiro seemed genuinely angry and his voice was icy. This uncharacteristic level of anger from Soichiro was enough to get Tobimaru to back down.
いや悪い、そんな雰囲気あったんだよお前さんは。けどよ、青崎と一緒に住んでるってどういうことだ。いくらなんでも一足飛びすぎだろ。
That's a long story, and if I tell you the story, I have to kill you.
別に君が期待しているようなことはない。彼女屋根の裏にある部屋なんだけど、板張りで山小屋を思い出すんで気に入ってる。
Tobimaru did not bat an eyelid at hearing that Soichiro now lived in an attic and continued his questioning.
屋敷ってあの久遠寺の屋敷か。それこそまさかだぜ。宗十郎、お前一体どんな手品を使いやがった？
飛丸こそあの家を知ってるのか？
そりゃな、これでも築地家期待の跡取り候補だぜ俺は。久遠寺グループのご令嬢が住んでる屋敷ぐらいは知ってるさ。霊園女学院の2年生だろ確か。
Sophomore? Was ist Sophomore? Muss ich kurz nachgoogeln, sorry. Google. Nicht Google. Eher Leo. Nicht SS. Sophomore. Ah, studiert im zweiten Studienjahr. Amerikanisch. So she was looking more confused than ever. Subaru Rickling explained everything as simple as he could, so Shojiro could understand.
久遠寺グループつうか財団だな。平たく言えば一族全部がお金持ちで仲良く会社を経営してる連中だと思えばいい。複合企業とまではいかないが輸出業じゃかなりのもんだ。ホームグラウンドは国外で先代の会長の英国 B 機がたたって一時期は沈みかけてたんだが5年くらい前かね。本拠地をこっちに移してからはご存知の通りだ。
Wonder what happened. Ob wir das herausfinden werden?
会長が息子に移ってからはきちんと持ち直して今や町の名士だろ。ここでも久遠寺の名前はそこかしこで目に入る。この学校の立て直し予算の半分は連中からだしな。
Despite our simple explanations, she still seemed to not be getting it. With that, Tobimaru decided to give up and tried to explain.
あれだ、想像もできない金持ちってこと。宗の字が働いてる喫茶店だって久遠寺が向こうから持ってきたブランドだぜ。
つまりすごく偉いんだね。おかしいな。ならなんであんなに倹約してるんだろう。
Shojiro mumbled incoherently to himself. Tobimaru looked at him with complex expression on his face, somewhere between envy and heartfelt sympathy.
しかしうまいことやったな宗十郎。それで本当のところはどうなんだ。男と女が同じ屋根の下にいればやることは一つだろ。
Richtig, der Junge wird geschlagen.
案外古いな飛丸も。
抜かせ。 そのあたりをごまかしてたら男なんぞやってらんね
そりゃごもっとも。実を言うと、正直。
Though Soichiro and Naoko were living together, there was absolutely no chemistry between them. Though that was not to say that living in such close quarters as they did, unintended misshapes did not occur from time to time. But even still,
驚くぐらいそういうことにはなってない。あの屋敷すごく広いし。
everyone was often busy with their own affairs, so there was no opportunity for that sort of thing to happen.
そもそもだな。もし飛び丸だったら下宿先が同じってことだけで青崎に言い寄る気になるかい？
いや、ならねえな、そりゃ。
Toyomaru nodded intensely as he was thinking back over his many ex-relationships.
いや、健全だな。
ああ、健全だろ。
Soichiro gave no more than a quick affirmation to Tobimaru's despondent murmur. He was doing fine. But besides his physical health, it was surely Soichiro's personality that enabled him to maintain any semblance of peace dealing with both Oko and Alice living in the mansion.
でもそれとは別の話で青崎には頭が上がらないんだ。彼女にはもう返せない借りがあってさ。
She was trying to kill you! Soichiro's eyes turned slightly serious as he stared into the fire. Tobimaru felt that there was more to those words than what Soichiro was letting on.
もう返せない借りだ。
Soichiro merely nodded in silence at Tobimaru's inquisitive acknowledgement. And just then, a strange scream pierced through the still silence of the wood like a knife.
なんか聞こえたな。
ああ、木の実だ。
Soichiro had already stood up before he responded. He bolted to the frozen pond, broke the ice with his broom, scooped up some of the frigid water in a bucket and threw it on the fire, all in less than 10 seconds. Then he immediately ran off to the depths on the woods from where he heard the scream. Tobimaru followed him after panic confusion.
飛び丸、この先に何かあるのか？
確か旧校舎が残ってるはずだ。
他には野犬の住処とかそういう嫌な話は？
はあ？いや、いるとしても鹿かウサギじゃねえか。
なら怖がることもないか。急ごう、飛び丸。
Perhaps because of this time, Spank ran up the mountains, Soichiro quickly sprinted over the slippery dead leaves. Tobimaru was not particularly cautious himself, but nevertheless, he could not keep up with Soichiro's in here. Before long, Soichiro found himself running alone. When piles of leaves blocked the natural trail, he would sometimes knock them away with both hands and sometimes expertly slip through them. It was clear that he was used to dealing with this level of stature. After a few minutes, Soichiro arrived at the clearing. The wall of trees had ended. It was obvious a man-made clearing here on the mountainside. In the distance was what looked like an old wooden school building. It was small, aesthetically pleasing building, no larger than a elementary school, lost in depths of wilderness.
木の実。
Kinomi stood alone on the old school grounds.
ん？なんで静木まで追いかけてきたん？
A sore expression came over Soichiro's face as Kinomi tilted his head in confusion.
そっちこそどうしたんだ？変な声上げて。
声？いや、そりゃガキ相手に怒鳴ったけどよ。ほら、あのガキだよ。芋持ってるだろ。であ、中に逃げ込みやがった。
Kinomi pointed resentfully towards the old school building. Servus, ich weiß. Just over 300 feet in the distance.
たく、こんな上まで来やがって。いつから子供の遊び場になってんだ、ここ。
Bin gespannt, was für ein Kind das ist. Kinomie shrugged his shoulders to signal how little he cared what the young children did with their time. The place was deep in the woods, but it was not particularly dangerous. Sushiro had to run through the woods to get here, but there was also a paved road leading to this spot from outside of the woods too. Kinomie appeared to follow the road to get here.
子供
Was hat hier ein Kind zu suchen? Sushiro squinted.
ああ金髪なんでさっきはちょっと驚いたけどな。外国人の子供ってなんか怖いだろ。
Weiß ich das selbst nicht. Ich habe selbst das Bad Ending bekommen. Du musst, glaube ich, immer noch Fragen stellen, wer der Mörder ist. It was indeed quite rare to see a foreigner in a provincial town such as Misaki. Sushiro had never seen a foreigner in person, which made the whole thing even more mysterious.
それで木の実はなんでここまで？
いや赤羽たちがよガキに食料奪われたって言うからここまで追いかけてきたんだ。そういうことだから二人がかりであのお子様とっちめようぜ。
怖いことを考えるな木の実は。
Sushiro could not find him to agree with this plan. It seemed unfair to him up against the little kid.
いいから帰ろう。あの子こっちを睨んでるじゃないか。それに飛び丸にこんなところ見られたら冬休み中ずっと山の掃除で終わることになるぞ。
Recht hat er. So took Kinomie by the shoulders and began leading him back to the path he came from. Kinomie cast one last gaze at the old school building before reluctantly following. Just then Tomimaro appeared, panting and out of breath.
早いな宗十郎。
Tomimaro could hardly catch his breath. He arrived about 3 minutes behind Sushiro, despite having a good set of legs on him.
それでどうした木の実無事か？
はあ無事も何も殿下こそどったん。
Yeah. Kinomie seemed perplexed by Tomimaro's first ever display of concern for him.
なんだそりゃ。てめえあれだけの大声を上げておいてしらばっくれる気か？上で何かあったんだろうが。
すまない。こっちの早とちりだった。飛び丸は知らないだろうけど木の実は時々バイト先でも規制を上げる癖があるんだ。
Tommy looked disapproving as Sushiro nonchalantly shared his insight. This was the first time he'd ever heard of it.
怪しいな。またよからぬことでも企んでるんじゃねえかそこの。
ないよ。戻って掃除の続きをするぞ飛び丸。
Sushiro pat Tomimaro on the shoulders a couple of times and started walking. Tomimaro cast a doubtful glare in his direction as he meandered off. He had a feeling Sushiro was covering for Kinomie somehow.
まさか旧校舎に火なんてつけてないだろうな。
Geil.
誰もしないよそんなことは。
Sushiro kept walking and did not even look back at Tomimaro as he spoke. Tomimaro and Kinomie tilted their heads in confusion as they reluctantly followed the unusual aggressive Sushiro back to their cleaning spot. And so, the special winter cleaning team's activities ended uneventfully. The time was 3 in the afternoon. Upon departing, Kinomie and his crew invited Sushiro to come hang out with them, but he declined politely due to his job at the evening. He had about 2 hours until his shift began. Not quite enough time to do anything fun, but just enough time to fill it with something. Sushiro thought about relaxing in the park somewhere, but quickly changed his mind after remembering how cold it was, even in the city. Not to forget that Oko handed him those pills in the morning. Oko was absolutely correct in her prediction. Hey, but to mention now would just be a waste of time. There was no reason for him to return to the mansion until after his shift at work. Still, Sushiro found himself on the way back anyway. Having grown up deep in the mountains, a little, 2-hour walk was really no sweet off his back. Misaki was one of the more quiet residential areas in Misaki City. The only thing that really stood out here was Shinizuka. It was a hill that led directly into the woods. The silhouette of the mountains served as backdrop to suburbia, slightly overshadowed the small human actions of the people who lived here. Even though the modern day of technology progressed, the people here were always careful to pay reverence to the nature around them. If the mansion were a shrine, it would not be haunted house, but a famous tourist attraction.
というより今さら気づいたけど
The houses around Shizuka were all magnificent. Sushiro understood as he looked from the bottom of the cell where the rest of the town lived at the roof of the mansion, tucked away in the woods. He understood what Tobimaru was talking about, how the Kuonji family who owned the mansion might be the richest people in town.
その割に家賃を取るところを見るとやっぱり嫌われていると見るべきか
Sushiro began walking towards the mansion with such force, slithering his mind. The feeling of hard asphalt beneath his feet instead of soft dirt felt lonely and isolating. He walked along the paved road for 10 minutes or so before reaching the iron fence of the wood. Beyond this fence was the private property of the Kuonji family. It was bereft of any awkward no trespassing signs. The trail overboarding the iron fence was more than enough to remind visitors that they were unwelcome here. Tsuchiro casually pushed on the iron gate. Only 2 days had passed since the end of final exams, and he already seemed more comfortable with the idea of entering this wood alone. The path of the mansion from inside the wood curved and bent like a snake. It took about 50 minutes to reach the mansion on this path. He could have chosen to ignore the long incline and travel in a straight line through the wood, but he would have expected significantly more energy in doing so. Now using the wooded path was the sensible option, barring an emergency. Upon entering the foyer, Tsuchiro had a conversation coming from the drawing room. It was no doubt Aoko and Alice, Tsuchiro decided to join them. Ever since the final exams had ended, Aoko and Alice had switched from their daily routine to a more regular schedule. Aoko would disappear into Alice's room in the west wing of the mansion for a while, where she would remain. And Alice would go to Aoko's room, not to be seen again. Why? Or would vanish into the corridors, leading around the rear of the mansion doing who knows what, where Tsuchiro was most certainly not allowed to enter. Not that it was interesting what they were doing, since Aoko and Alice did not seem to want to include him either, serving both parties nicely. For the same time, being in the country estate was pretty peaceful.
ただいま
Tsuchiro quietly opened the door to the drawing room. Even though they tried not to be involved in each other's business, Tsuchiro made the habit to greet them. The two girls across from him on the sofa. On the table in front of them was a large, extravagantly decorated mirror. Uko was dressed for comfort, wearing jeans instead of a usual skirt. In stark contrast, Alice was dressed in the usual all black. Even though the break from school was well underway, the witch still insists on wearing black. As Awkward explained, it was probably because it was too much effort for Alice to wear anything else. Sushiro's thought was that he would like to see her wear something different. Awkward and Alice seemed to be in the middle of some sort of dispute. The air in the drawing room was tense. They both ignored this greeting. Alice only briefly looked upon him.
じゃあ東川の視点はあそこの柱は白色だしそう簡単には奪われないでしょ。
ええ、今のところ東川は侵食されていないけど一つ隣の鈴穂の視点が消された以上楽観はできないわ。残りの割り出しは今までより早くなる。
そっか。 一個釣れればあとは芋づる式だもんね。反省したわ。甘く見てたのはこっちの方だった。ここからは1週間単位の攻防になるわね。
The two continued their heated discussion from the opposite sides of the table. Oko neglected to even glance at Sujiro. Sujiro sensed that she wanted to concentrate on the discussion at hand.
でも解せないな。あの夜に人形を出してくるタイミングといい、隠し方だけは一級品なうちの視点を短期間で特定することといい、こいつまず間違いなく市内にアジトを敷いてるわよね。
Tja,
なのになんで結界に異常がないんだろう。三崎市一帯の索敵網はもう100年近く破られたことがないのに。
Aoko bit her nails nervously while Alice nodded along. It seemed as though she was wondering the same thing.
母もここの結界には触れなかった。岬の結界をかいくぐるにはあなたのおじいさんかそれ以上の技量を持つ魔術師でないと難しい。けどそれほどの魔術師なら逆に気配は隠しきれない。何か特殊な音響法かもしれないわね。ここ数年新しいサークルの話は聞かないけど。
何？シャーウッドの森？メイキングなら以前アリスの霧が粉砕したじゃない。あれ以上の音響があるっていうの？
The Making? Der Mainkönig? Wer ist der Making? Das ist eine Salatart. Aber es hat was zu tun mit Robin Hood. Interesting.
例えばの話よ。今回の相手はこちら以上の技量を持っているか、こちらの知らない技術を持っているか、どちらにせよ評価を改めるべきね。私たち気づかないうちに追い詰められているのかも。
Tja, Hochmut kommt vor dem Fall. The two fell silent. So sure, after some internal deliberation, decided to break the silence.
や、ただいま。
Ogilvy looked up at him in response to this necessity declaration.
いいからお風呂に入ってきたら。汚れてるわよ、宗十郎。
And with that, Oko returned to her gaze in the mirror. Alice briefly looked up at Soshiro again before also returning to her gaze to the mirror. Perhaps feeling at least somewhat satisfied that his greeting was acknowledged, Soshiro left the drawing room and closed the door behind him. He was right, his clothes were a little soiled.
そうだな。もったいないけど確かに。
He returned to his room, thinking that the bath might actually feel pretty nice in this cold weather, despite not really having broken a sweat at all during the day. He climbed the stairs from the foyer up to the second flight into the attic. Unlike the other rooms, the mansion this one had no frills to its decor. It was a little cumbersome to use as a living space, but comfortable enough for Soshiro. Everywhere else, the mansion was a little gaudy for his tastes. As far as a shelter or place to sleep went, Soshiro was more than satisfied with accommodations. There was no electricity in the attic. The only light was which crept in from a small skylight. That was Toshiro reminded he was more accustomed to living without electricity than living with it. With only the faint winter light to guide him, he readied a change of clothes and a towel before heading down to the foyer. Despite the magnificent size of the mansion, there was only one bath in the whole building. And not a particularly large one at that. Whoever the architect was, he or she must not have been thought a bath to be so important, or perhaps they were not the bath type. He descended from his foyer and made his way to the back of the stairs. To be fair, ich tue auch ungern baden, ich tue lieber duschen. Weil eine normale Badewanne ist, naja, für mich. Wenn ich eine Badewanne benutze, dann muss es wirklich schon so eine luxusmäßige Badewanne sein. Mir sind Duschen einfach lieber. He knocked on the door to the bath. As expected, there was no answer from the other side. The only other two occupants of the mansion were still talking in the drawing room. Of conversion, it was unoccupied, so Shiro quietly entered the bathroom. Even though Shiro was not aware of it himself, as was common for him, the only hobby he had acquired since coming down from the mountain was taking a nice, relaxing bath. So Shiro had left, but the two girls were still locked in their heated discussion. Needless to say, the topic of the conversation was still that of the outsider mage who appeared in Misaki City last month. This was, after all, the problem that had occupied them for a time before the Soul situation with Sojiro arose, dealing with and eliminating the interloper who had set his or her sights on the territory.
今まではおとりにばっかり食いついてたから甘く見てたけど、それも計算づくだったのかしらね。こっちが油断してる隙に本命を一つ奪われた。この相手との戦いはこれからが本番ってことか。
The situation was growing more dire by the day. Until only a couple of days ago, the enemy had limited themselves to small skirmishes, but now they had shifted to a full-on offensive. Occurred two major fields used for defense. One larger of the two was special Misaki City to detect magic energy in Magecraft. This was used to observe or monitor visitors from outside the city. It was initially set up by Aosaki's ancestors, the predators of the territory, and had no way to be removed. The other was set up to energize and manage ley lines from within the territory. The 5 seagulls carved into the earth made up a standard square type array, protecting all the ley within its bounds. And for some rotation of the mana flow, the power within it was directed to accommodate the Koronchi estate. That was to say, the boundary field existed to monopolize the magic energy within Misaki City. There were 5 sigils in total, with the Koronchi estate located in the center. If all 5 sigils were forcibly removed, Aoko's negation of the city would be entitled only. Without the power of the land to back them up, they would be forced to fight back against the invaders on equal ground, with only their own innate abilities to protect them. The only reason Alice and the inexperienced Oko were able to defend the territory so far was because of these 2 fields. The direct net that notified Oko of any threats was also her lifeline. But this time, the enemy had somehow slipped through the cracks and was running rampant. This was what the girls had been faced up to.
どちらにせよ時間の問題ね。視点が全て潰されたらいよいよここでの籠城になるけど、いいの？青子。
ん？別にいいんじゃないの？アリスの言う通り、残りの視点を消されるのは時間の問題なんだし。そりゃ敵のアジトを発見できれば同じだけど、それは絶対必要ってわけでもないでしょ。何より館の守りはあんたがいる限り万全だしね。あっちの方からやってきてくれるなら、それこそ飛んで火にいるよ。 他に心配事なんてないでしょ。
So blöd wird sie aber nicht sein. Also, die Angreiferin.
そうね。敵が一人だけならその時は鏡の範囲をここに集中させて戦場にすればいい。
Alice touched the mirror on the table with her pale fingers. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. The mirror was a never protector of Misaki City, separately from Aoko Misaki's battlefields. More accurately, it was a ploy that existed only to protect Alice's energy rather than Misaki City itself, generated a thick fog and acted as an invitation to any visitors, drawing them into its board game-like world. Alice referred to it only as the Mirror, but it was known to her friends as the Mirror of Slumber. This was a major shaft that Alice Kuanji wielded. Within the rippling surface of the mirror, an image of the castle began to form, and also a lush forest, a field and a river. Oko stood the mirror in silence, before she suddenly jumped to her feet off the sofa.
そうと決まれば、あとは行動あるのみね。出かけるわよ、アリス。とにかく現場を見ないことには始まらない。
Alice let out a tired sigh to the response. To Oko's detonation, they gave the mirror a gentle caress. The scent of dripping water filled the room. The mirror began to consume the table in a thick fog, with a single caress from Alice.
順番に回るのなら帰るのは朝になるわね。
まあまあ、そう億劫がらないで。ところでアリス、火の五芒星の退去ってこうだっけ？
Oko traced the shape in the air with her fingers. She mimicked a star shape starting from the top, moving down to the right, from there to the upper left, and so on.
そろそろ壊すこと以外も覚えないとダメよ、青子。
Alice sat up from the sofa, letting out a heavy sigh. They both looked at the coats from the hangers and left the drawing room.
失礼ね。私だって日々成長してるわよ。この間のおまじないだってちゃんと成功したんだから。
おまじない？
簡単な暗示の呪文。ほら、アリスが教えてくれた軽く弱くうまく早くチクタクチクタク急げや急げってやつ。
それ本当？
ほんともほんと。後で総重量に聞いてみなさい。
Alice followed her words, clearly displeased. She like stopped herself, intent to this. It was not worth the effort to take issue with it.
けど留守中その彼はどうするの？
大丈夫でしょう。アリスの西館と開かずの間に入らなきゃ即死するようなことは。
Oko responded hastily as she opened the door to the foyer. As soon as he did, just as quickly as Alice stopped, had gotten stuck in her throat, Oko suddenly froze, unable to speak. For a moment, Oko wasn't sure who was standing before her. She only stared at the glittering rays of sunlight creeping onto the room as she yielded from the shock. Her mind was completely blank. It was as she had just woken up from a nap, or a check in the box had just opened her in her face. So she was probably the only person who truly knew how long that dumbfounded silence went on.
あんた、こんなところで何してるのよ。
Ich liebe ihr Gesicht einfach. Oh, you finally found her voice.
何って着替えてるんだけど。
She response was matter of fact. He offered no explanation as to why he was changing in the foyer and not in the bathroom. He was too shocked to read him the riot act. So she was putting a shirt on after presumably just getting out of the bath. His neck was wrapped in a bandage and he was completely shirtless. His hair was wet, but his skin was glistening from the steam of hot water. He must have washed himself with nothing more than cold water. I was shocked as why anyone would do such thing in this cold weather. She let it slide. The source of her silent stupor was simply his body. Add to block list. Until now, she would only see him as harmless, without his clothing to hide him. However, he was more fit than she would ever imagined. For a rough mountain upbringing where one's body and strength meant survival, perhaps he was even a bit underdeveloped. And on top of that,
それ傷跡なの？
Urko asked cautiously. Shishiro followed her gaze. There's something that looked like a burn scar on his arm. It was random in appearance, nothing like Urko's magic crest with its all their pet hands.
ああ、これか。ずいぶん前に野犬の群れに襲われて噛みつかれたんだ。命があっただけでも幸運だから、傷跡ぐらいはご愛嬌だ。
A long time ago, he must be talking about when he was a child. Though his life was saved, it was apparent that he hadn't been able to receive proper treatment deep in the mountains where he lived. But the scars were proof of that. Considering it had happened so many years ago, it was likely they would never fade. It's only for an instant Aoko thought the wild scars left on his skin suited his lean body perfectly.
確かに、あまり気持ちのいいものじゃないな。
So Shiro sounded slightly ashamed as he put out on his shirt, looking at Aoko standing there in cold silence. The two girls had no response. So Shiro headed for the stairs to go back to his room.
ちょっと待って、宗十郎。
So Shiro stopped and turning around.
なんていうか。
Aoko looked at Moni, apparently not knowing why she had stopped herself.
なんか青崎らしくない。さっきから変だけど、熱でもあるんじゃないのか？あれから満足に寝てないだろう、二人とも。
It was of course referring to her final exams. From Sushiro's perspective, the amount of work Aoko put in seemed strange.
熱なんてないったら。そうじゃなくて、どうしてこんなところで着替えてたのよ、あんたは。
Aoko was doing her best to keep up appearances. But for some reason she was hesitant to say too much more.
それは言いづらいんだが、下着の管理はきちんとした方がいいと思う。どっちだかは知らん。
Alice had been completely silent, but I couldn't resist responding to that statement. Although she didn't want to get involved, this was something she couldn't ignore.
言っておくけど、それは青子だから。
Alice's response was quick and up to the point.
洗濯の当番は確かに私だったけど。
Aoko seemed like she was holding back or going critical.
とにかく、もうすぐアルバイトだから着替えてくる。
Sensing that the two were probably about to get into an argument, Sushiro took this chance to leave. And with that, Sushiro briskly left the scene.
アリス。
とりあえず片付けてくるわ。
Alice calmly walked into the bathroom. A few minutes later, just as the two were about to head out to further use the smash, Aoko remembered something she wanted to ask.
そうだ、アリス。傷ってあれのこと？
あれは傷跡じゃないわ。だってあんなにも誇らしいもの。
Aoko agreed. What had impressed her the most about those scars was how to treat it simply as part of his past, absent of any regret. Aoko would have gone so far as to say he was proud, but it seemed the instincts had been correct. That and one more thing.
でも一つだけはっきりしたわ。それじゃあ、不覚にも見惚れてたのは私一人じゃなかったってことよね、アリス。
Aoko smiled rarely at Alice, like a child who knew they were doing something they shouldn't with their friend. Alice was trying to ignore her best she could. She looked away without saying a word. Aoko let out a satisfied snicker and began walking towards the front door.
じゃ、行こうか。まずはあの公園からでいいでしょ。今回の件はあそこから全てが始まったわけだし。
She was talking about the local park Misaki. the place where they had run into the enemy puppets, and of course, where their involvement with Oshiro had all begun. Early the next morning, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. Most people were still in the bed, sleeping. Also, 24 hours convenience stores had opened last year. Misaki-town was still very much living in the good old days of the early 80s. Even though the tofu shop in the shopping district, known for opening earlier than anywhere else, didn't open until 6. But this time was late 80s, during the latter half of Japan's bubble economy. Aber ich gleich speichere mal ab. Und gehen wir zurück zum Titelbildschirm. Und gehen wir ins Archiv. Ah, sehr schön. The mouse during winter break und the witch and the feral child. Dann sind das also 1, 2, 3, 4 Unterkapitel, diese Kapitel nach. Aber ich gleich mit heute mal aufhören zu streamen und hoffentlich werde ich morgen auch gut genug gelaunt sein, um wieder zu streamen. Dann mal adios und vierte.